Hello and welcome to Columbus Local Podcast, episode number 25. And it is my great pleasure today to have the Reverend C. Barton Love and Chris. I'm gonna call you Chris now, but thanks for coming, man.
Oh, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I think we're both Westerville guys.
Yep.
I'm a little older than you are, but you've been away. You're back now in town. I'm looking forward to some music. What do you?
Yeah.
Are you? Have you met? Re-engaged with some folks?
Yeah, I've been working with a guy named Neil Preston and Jack Johnston, and he's been recording me for a while. And so Neil and I have been working on the drum parts until Jack can get ready, and just getting everything back. I've been playing solo in my house for the last 4 years, so I haven't been on a stage for quite a while.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to seeing you back out live.
Well, we do have a show with Devil's Payroll reunion at the next Lost Weekend Records anniversary show at Natalie's. So we'll be on the big stage, the first band.
Oh, awesome. Do you have a date for that?
It's March 23rd.
Of 24?
Yeah.
2024?
Yeah.
Oh, great. I'm going to mark my calendar, man.
It's going to be a good show.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that'll be great. So you have the lineup solidified?
Yeah, it's everybody's coming back.
Everybody back?
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Congratulations.
No, thank you. We're not going to start practicing until January or something, but, it's going to be fun to get back together with those guys.
Oh, sure. So that's the liquor. Is that which
It would be Ron Brzezowska, Chris Cox, and Billy from the Mathematics now.
Yep.
And then Joe Mismus on keyboards, and I'm working on the sax player. I don't know if he's going to come back or not, but we'll see what we can do.
I gotcha. So the Skillet Liquors then. So you're re-engaged
It's
there.
with Devil's Payroll.
Devil's Payroll. Gotcha, man.
Yeah, we changed the name because of that racist overtones that
Gotcha.
Gid Tanner had back in the 30s. So
Right on.
didn't know that when we picked the name of the band. So
Yep.
time to change.
Yeah.
I've got a song recorded with Jorma Kalkinen called Devil's Payroll. So that's,
Good deal.
That's where it came from.
Yeah. Looking forward to that show, man.
Me too.
So good. So you got that, and you're dabbling with getting some else on the side, right?
Yep, I've been writing a couple songs, and I wrote a whole one in a week, which hasn't happened in 3 or 4 years probably. So
Yeah.
that was cool. And then Neil and I are just practicing with acoustic guitar and drums right now. Working on
Fill
stuff.
in.
Do what?
You let it fill in naturally.
Yep. We'll see. We need a bass player, and then I got a couple people I'm going to ask to do some filling in. You'll probably be one of them.
That's cool.
Like guest people.
Oh, I'd love to, man. I would.
Yeah.
If you can tolerate my physical limitations.
Of course you can.
My energy level is in my mind is there, but my body's not cooperating right now.
Your fingers are doing it, man.
But yeah, I'd love to, man. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, just be honest with me.
Well, I mean, what we're going to do is have a core of the drums, me, and a guitar or a bass player probably, and then have guests come in and do leads and play some songs. Got some Yardbirds and some stuff like that.
Fantastic.
So
yeah, I would be honored.
yeah, I'll do it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Good deal. Well, Chris, I've met you a long time ago, and even though we're Westerville guys, and we have a lot of common friends, and you're I would say a pretty recognizable force in Columbus music.
Well, I appreciate that.
You got a lot of fans, right? I've always been one of them.
The stuff I play is, if you like it, you like it, and if you don't, you don't probably. So,
Right.
It's Stonesy, Ramonesy, George Jonesy. That's what I call it.
Exactly.
Garage grass.
But the groove is there. The energy is there.
Yep.
It's a fun time.
I try to keep the songs, so I can play more. So the songs are shorter, so I can play more songs, and even the covers I pick, I try to pick short covers. So.
Yeah, and keep the energy popping for that tune, and take a breath.
Yeah,
do a quick tune and roll to the next.
Yeah, exactly. To me, that 2-bar like Buck Owens guitar leads that's art to me. If you can express yourself in that short amount of time, that much.
Yeah, believe it or not, I credit you for teaching me a lot of things. One of which is less is more, which is what I think you're speaking to there.
Right. Not that I think I overplay myself, but I can tell other people not to, I guess. But if you're playing leads, that's my opinion. It doesn't have to be busy.
Right.
If you can make one note
hum
or
flow,
come alive or whatever and keep it there, then listen. Gary Moore, that dude.
Oh.
He can sing as well as he played. It's just that guy blew me away.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. You've sold me a lot of equipment too. There's just been a lot of Chris in my musical, appreciation box and over the years. And I appreciate all the time you've spent with me over the years with education and, just sharing your knowledge.
Well, I was working at shops, and I feel like you're supposed to take time with the customer, and you get to know people, and you get friends you have for life that way, they're not coming to you because you're a salesman. They're coming to you because you're their friend and you took time to.
Yeah, you're a trusted expert
and
in these areas.
And I'll tell you straight up if I don't like something.
Right.
I'll say that guitar's a piece of shit, and I don't think you should buy it, man. Spend $100 more and buy the other one, or wait.
Right.
Or I'm very opinionated when it comes to pretty much anything that has to do with music. So.
Well, when I was learning too, and we talked about this earlier, I learned a lot from Billy Spitfire.
Oh yeah.
And Heath.
Yeah.
Heath Mullen.
Yeah.
Heath McMullen.
Yeah.
Right.
Old next door neighbor.
Yep. And those guys and yourself were like, get off that modeler, get yourself a real tube amp.
Yeah. And
learn the dynamics of playing something like that. Mm-hmm. And it took a little time. I was the guy, playing in Heath's band. We would gig pretty frequently, but I'd have a different rig every time because I couldn't find the right.
I did the same thing.
Situation.
I can't even tell you how many hundreds of guitars have gone through my hands and amps. So.
But I've had the same rig now for some time,
That's
like
great.
a number of years,
right.
And it's a really cool workhorse, solid tube.
Yep.
Dr. Z.
Yeah.
Maz 18.
Yep. They're great amps.
Straight up Class A amp, and it's been a real workhorse for me. It's been great. But that was coaching that I learned from people like yourself.
Right.
I appreciate that.
Well, that's what friends are for.
Yeah, and you were like, I remember when I bought that Z, and you came to one of my shows. I think I was playing a Vox Night Train.
Which is not a bad amp either.
It's not a bad amp, but I think you pulled me aside and said, that's not a bad amp, Len, but where's your Z?
Oh yeah.
You were like, leave that. Don't play any shows without that Dr. Z. And I was thinking, he's probably right. Like, what am I saving it for?
Right. The tubes are only going to get better the hotter they get. So.
And that baby screams. It's a good rig. So I'll you'll hear more of that.
Good. Yeah.
So Chris, I'm really happy that you're getting back here in Columbus, where you are from, in the Westerville area. Obviously, is where you're from. Mm-hmm. Where did music find you? Where did you find music in the Westerville area?
I didn't. When I moved, I was always into music, but there was not really any bands or anything in Westville when I was growing up. So when I got out of high school, I went to music business school in Atlanta, and I was, I had a bunch of records and all that stuff. I was really into the music part. I never thought I'd play music, but I met a guy named Murray Silver Jr., who had just written Great Balls of Fire, the book, and he was my teacher at this school, and he taught us the history of popular music. And he set me on a wild ride, I mean, not just the music, but he also introduced me to an artist in France, and I moved to France like 6 months later and lived there in Vence, France, above Nice for about a year, and then came back and worked for a count and countess at a chateau as a gardener for 6 or 8 months. And then I came back, and my buddy Kyle, who runs Lost Weekend Records here in town, he met me at the airport in Atlanta. I called him from, I think it was Iceland, and said, I'm going to be back in Atlanta at this time. And he's like, I'll meet you there. I got tickets for WrestleMania. So he literally picked me up at the airport. We went to WrestleMania and then went back to this house after. So, yeah, I mean, and then when I got back to Columbus, I started working at Ticketmaster and ran in. I met Steve Dodge, and my next door neighbor was a guy named Steve Anderson, who was in I'm Was Stupid here in town, which is a great pop band if you never heard them. And so he was my next door neighbor, and he was playing guitar one day. I went over there, and he's like, you want to sing? And I was like, sure. And he's like, well, you didn't suck that bad, man, so if you want to come back, with the other guys next week, you can. And then we put together, the other guys left, and we put together a band from Ticketmaster and Steve, and it was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So it was your first kind of band jam buddy,
Yeah. G-Spot Tornadoes.
G-Spot Tornadoes. Gotta love that. So were you playing campus? We were playing High Street?
Yeah, I was kind of a Ronald Cole, Barbed Wire Dolls groupie. I used to go to their practices and hang out. And so we were on campus, and I lived at Stashes pretty much and was working at Ticketmaster. And we went to, there's a big crew of us at Ticketmaster. We went to everything together. And we started playing in his basement, and then we had a party when the house that I was living in had been sold, so we had to leave. So I put up posters on the walls, and we invited 100 people, and had 3 or 4 bands in the living room.
You had a house rocking.
Yeah, well, it's John Coffey's house.
Oh, wow.
Big circle.
That is a big circle.
Yeah, it was back to Westerville. There we go.
Yeah.
So it was, and then, I did that, and then that kind of splintered off, and there was another G-Spot Tornadoes with the same bass player, George Califf, and Ken Massey, who we lost a couple of years ago, and Jesse McNamara, who's in the Moonbats, and who's also in the Everly Brothers band. I mean, he was 19 or 20 when we were playing together. So I was very lucky to have him in there. And then we got a Jim Carroll gig where there used to be a place called the Dell. And I used to put up posters for them, and they'd let me go to the shows for free and give me a meal. So Jim Carroll came, and I met him, and I was like, next time Jim Carroll comes, man, you gotta give me that gig.
Sure.
So Les calls me up. He's like, Jim's coming. Here's his phone number. He wants you to tell me what songs you want to play, and he'll play what you ask him to.
Oh, cool.
So I called him up, and I was in touch with him, and I was his chauffeur when he came to town, and we did our show, and we got to this song called Dry Dreams that we had done a cover of, and I gave him a copy last time he was there. And right before we did the song, he's like, wait a minute, I got a copy of this from them last time they were here, and my friends like it better than my version, so we're going to do their version of my song. And he sang my version of his song, so that was pretty fucking cool.
That's very cool, dude. Very cool.
He was my hero.
Yeah.
All my heroes are junkies, so.
Well, you move forward, right? You just keep moving forward.
Yep.
And that's what you're doing now, man, right?
Yep.
And I think you're in a great path.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back. I went up to Tucson for a couple of years, and I really needed to clear my head out.
Sure.
I think I did that. It's good to be back, and back with all my friends.
Right on. Yeah, definitely. And now I'm itching for this March.
Me too.
This March show.
Me too.
To see you guys again, because everyone's kind of gone their
Different.
their Tucson way, so to speak. Like,
Well, it's
right?
been 7 years since we played. Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah. But, everyone has, Cox and Spitfire still playing together.
Right.
But, to see Ronnie playing guitar will be, that'll be awesome.
Well, he's doing he's doing the Lightning Express Everly Brothers show with Jesse McNamara.
Excellent.
They did a show with Albert Lee here at Natalie's, and I guess Albert played with them.
That's really cool.
Because he was the Everly Brothers musical director for the last 5 years they were together or something.
Well, that's awesome to hear. I mean, I try to keep up with a lot, but it's impossible to stay in touch with everyone. But Ronnie's someone I'd love to have here and get his his perspective on his music journey.
Yeah.
He's really been a killer presence.
He's one of those less is more guys, man.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I learned a lot just watching him play.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just a natural.
Right.
Makes it look easy. And he's just like, ooh, man, like where'd that come from?
I've seen him not even be awake and play like that. It's been a long time, but I've seen it.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's coming this spring for you too.
No, I don't think that's going to happen
A
again.
late night. So through the '90s and the 2000s, you don't have to name them all, but you've had quite a bit of music that you've hit, right?
We did. I was also in a band called Circle Gospel Deluxe, which was we were kind of a tongue-in-cheek rock and roll gospel band. I played mandolin in that. And we had Kyle was also in that band, and his dedicated instrument was a Hobart mixer. So he would hang on that one, But we got to play with like Elvis, the Mexican Elvis, and at the Beachland Ballroom, and Mojo Nixon, and a couple, Mojo didn't like it that we were doing religious songs. He was pissed off. But it was a lot of fun. It was like one of the most fun musical experiences, and I think everybody dug it because everybody was laughing and having a good time every time, And I do have a 21-song recording that we did with Jorma McCalkin, but I don't know if I'm allowed to let it out.
How do you find out? Do you have to call him up and say, "Hey, man"?
No, Jorma says it's okay, but the band leader, I have to make sure that he's cool with me giving it out. But
yeah,
I think he will be after all this time. I'm not going to say his name or put any pressure on him.
No, but hopefully you'll take yourself up on contacting him and moving forward with that.
I have a copy of it. We also did a record, the Bubba Ho Tep. I was in Bubba Ho Tep too, and we were Bubba Ho Tep like I don't know, 4 years before the movie came out. The guy who wrote Bubba Ho Tep is a friend of mine, and I wrote him a note and asked him if we could use the name to the story, And he wrote back, do the Bubba Ho Tep two-step, so I wrote a song called the Bubba Ho Tep two-step.
Nice.
And we got to open up for Jim Carroll with him too, with Bubba Ho Tep too. It was good fun.
And what venue were these?
The Dell was the first Bubba Ho Tep, or the first Jim Carroll, and then Bubba Ho Tep was at Little Brothers with Jim Carroll.
These are all high street.
Yeah. We did a lot of Chelsea stuff too.
Short North, Columbus, a little north of that.
Yeah,
North Columbus.
The G-Spots did more like Chelsea's, Crazy Mamas, which was always fun to play in. Or just be in, or just walk in and see Charlie Wonder standing at the door,
What made Crazy Mamas a favorite for you?
It was, you just be yourself, I mean, there's so many freaks in there, you could just be anybody you wanted to be, and everybody at the bar was cool. And, like I said, Charlie was like a rock and roll guy that, you never saw his eyes, so you never knew. Always leaning there, and, it was just an interesting place to be, and I saw the Cramps there, I saw Blasters there, and, and we got to play there in the same place where they did, and it was like, I still got pictures of that somewhere.
That's really cool.
It was, yeah. I mean, I miss all that stuff on High Street. From stashes to
very different scene now.
I saw everybody in stashes from John Lee Hooker to Nirvana, in a 150 club. It's as sad as gone.
Yeah, so you kind of performed and hung out that whole High Street strip, through the which decades primarily?
It was probably 88 till I got shot in 2001, so till about 2003, probably.
Yeah, and I go to those shows myself. And even the what's now Shrunken Head or
right.
Victoria Midnight Cafe before that. I think it's a different name now even. But
I just love the Shrunken Head.
Oh yeah, yeah. Those are great places to plug in and just transform the vibe.
I used to go to Chelsea's all the time. I mean, that was a great place. Farther south across from the White Castle down there on First. And I spent a lot of time in that place. Stashes and Little Brothers, all those,
Yeah, it's really cool. Now, I know you've recorded a lot over the years, some that you haven't talked about. You have recordings.
Right.
Do you have any public that folks can listen to?
There's some on Reverb Nation. I think I got some kind of notification. I'm in the top 10 on Reverb Nation in Columbus for singer-songwriters right now. And then there's another one called Number One Music that I have some stuff on. And I think there's some on Apple under Reverend Barton Love.
And Chris, are you an ordained reverend?
Yes, through the
Minister?
Universal Life Church.
Yeah,
it takes 5 minutes on the internet.
Well, that's okay. But but you are reverend is a true
yes
title for you.
I think I wanted to do it because of Reverend Gary Davis. Plus, my grandpa was a preacher, but he never went by Reverend.
Well, some of the rockabilly guys are
right
reverends, right?
Right. But Yorm always calls Reverend Gary Davis the Rev, and I just thought that was too cool.
That's very cool. So you picked up on that, right. Kind of borrowed that concept and applied it to yourself.
Yep. And Barton Love actually stands for Cheney, which was my mom's maiden name, and then Barton and Love was my grandma's maiden name. So.
Oh, beautiful. Good for you.
Yep. So it's not Chris, really, on that.
It really isn't Chris.
On the C. Barton Love part, it's not.
Because I know you as Chris.
Right. That's what most people know me as, or asshole.
Oh, come on, man.
Sorry.
It's been a lot. No, I mean, I don't think there's any rules. Matter of fact, on your episode, I'm going to put the E for explicit language.
Okay.
So don't worry. You got the important thing, man. Know that this is about you. Okay. And then also that you just got to be yourself.
Well, then I don't know how not to cuss. So I'm just telling you, I don't trust people that don't cuss.
Eventually. I mean, even you met Beth.
Yeah.
Okay. Beth, the little swear word will come out of Beth now and then too. And then when she does, I have to take pause because it's probably something I did. I don't want her to be upset.
Right.
Well, she's rarely upset. But as I said, if she is, it's usually something that I did. I take responsibility.
Right.
I try to fix it, make it right.
That's good.
Dude, you live and you learn, you try to do your best. That's all you can do.
Yep.
When you hit my age, which you haven't yet, you hopefully become a little wiser. You've learned a bit and you adjust and you try to make your life as good as you can for not just yourself, but who you come across. And that includes you in this experience. I mean, I just want you to have a great time.
Yeah, like I said, I got shot in 2001 at a pawn shop. It was a gang initiation. They came in to kill us. But after that, it was like you get like X-Men powers of perception of people
And what's happening.
and everything around you. It's amazing.
Do you want to talk about what happened there?
Sure.
2001.
I was working at Lev's Pawn Shop, and I was substituting up on Hudson Street, and I'd been there. I think I'd been working for Lev's for about a month, and went to lunch, came back, and these kids came in with another guy, and we were standing at the counter trying to help them, and they were spread out. And I heard a gun go off, and I turned my head, and they had shot the guy next to me through the face, and when I turned my head, he shot me through the neck, and it almost went through. It stopped in the back, right back here, and somehow I'm still walking and talking, and so they jumped over the counter and beat on us a while, and the guy who got shot through the face got up somehow and pushed the panic button, and they had taken buttons off our neck. They thought they were the panic buttons, that opened the door and they let another customer in. So it was all just. And one had a 9mm and one had a 380, and they put the wrong magazines in their guns, so they only had one shot apiece. So that's why they were beat. You know, they couldn't shoot us. It wasn't a lower robbery. It was a gang initiation for the Short North Posse.
Wow.
So they had been scouting pawn shops the day before, and they decided they're going to do this one.
Wow.
So, but they caught him coming out the back door. 20 feet out the back door, I'd say. And I was in the emergency room for about 6 hours, and they sent me home.
Really? Yeah. So is the bullet still lodged in your neck?
I had it taken out, and then I had a necklace made out of it that I lost, which must have been karma. Maybe I wasn't supposed to keep that bullet, you know. So,
yeah. Let that go.
Yeah.
Let the experience go.
Well,
It's always going to be with you, but
it's
part
easier.
of it.
It's easy to get, but my daughter was born 3 years to the day, to the hour that I got shot, and came out looking at me. She came out of my wife. So I've always got that image too, because it's, I don't get to talk to him very much. So
yeah, man, it's all good.
It's kind of hooked together. After she was born, I'm like, why do I know that day? Oh,
Yeah,
that's why.
man. Yeah, what an experience! And I there's pictures of that I've seen.
Yeah, my dad took a
you've
picture
shown
in
me.
the emergency room when I was there.
Yeah,
That's the only picture of it.
and the expression that you had.
I was flipping off the people that tried to kill me. I lived,
You're still here.
Yep.
And you're here today.
And that ring is right there in the picture. Yep.
Yeah, man.
It kind of sent me down a weird path, but
Well, I think it would set anyone down a strange path.
Yeah.
But we're glad you're here, man.
yeah, me too.
Yeah, that was a close call.
Well, I haven't had a drink for 10 years now, so
Yeah.
well, November 1st. And like I said, I'm going to get my human skull 10-year chip. So
As a commemorative reminder
yep,
of your sobriety.
$30 a year. That ain't bad,
No, it's not. No. Congratulations on your
thank you.
sobriety, man. That's good. That's
sure
a good milestone.
I'm sure a lot of people that never thought that would happen, including me. But I finally,
But here you are, man.
yeah.
You know?
When I lived in Tucson, I lived 100 feet from a liquor store, so I figured if I could make it through that, in COVID in the liquor store, then I could make it through. So
Bless you. Bless you, man. Yeah. Good for you.
yep, it was. I don't miss it.
Well, it's powerful that you're here.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been here if I would have kept drinking. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Or stayed married. Anyway,
I understand what you're saying. And like I said, I'm happy that you're healthy. You're here. You're going to
Yeah.
be making some music.
yep. That's most. I'm really looking forward to doing that. It's been too long.
It's been a long time, man. Been a long time.
Yeah. And I got to, when I was, when we were in the G-Spot tornadoes and all that, I got to meet Robbie Brumfield, who was a force in this town for a long, long time. And he passed away from alcoholism. And, but that guy, and he touched a lot of people, you know. And even when I went down and I went with Kyle and we recorded with Jorma Kaukonen down at the Fur Peace Ranch. And even though Jorma was there, Robbie still came down to produce our stuff because we just trusted him, you know. So he got to hang out with Jorma and who was it?
Was it the gentleman on Saturday Night Live?
No, G.E. Smith.
Yeah.
No, G.E. We just saw him a couple weeks ago at the Fur Peace Ranch, and he is just he and Jorma.
He's a giving heart.
Oh, he is
as
the
is
most.
Jorma, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just talked. You know, we went down for sound check because we were allowed to, and we were just talking gear. You know, he was showing me all this stuff, and it was 54 Firebird. Some guy gave it to me for dinner one night, man, and he had a 53 Deluxe and then he had this thing, man, called a brown box.
I'm listening to your audio.
Called a brown box.
Oh.
And it, for vintage amps or tube amps, since all the computers and stuff now, the voltage is like 120 something instead of being 110 or 112 like it's supposed to be. And this regulates it back, and it sounded, I mean, it was like God coming out of that amp, man, with this
Tone.
Oh,
Tone for
it
days.
was dripping. Yeah.
Yeah. Holy cow.
And,
Vintage is where it's at.
Yeah.
It really is.
but there's people that can, you don't have to
you can
pay.
emulate it today, though, through computers and all these modelers.
Like the
and
thing I
stuff.
was telling you about earlier was that tone right thing. It's a machine you put on your strings at the bridge, and it shakes your guitar for days, as many days as you want to leave it on there.
It just shakes your guitar.
At the bridge. It simulates years of playing through the vibrations, you know, and it just expands the tone, you know. I don't care if it's acoustic, electric, whatever it is. If you can not play your guitar for 72 hours, you know, or you have enough guitars where you can, you know, they're incredible things, man. So,
And what's it called?
tone right.
Tone right. And it's a box that just kind of adhere. How's it adhere?
No,
to
you don't
the
even plug it.
instrument?
It just goes in between the strings. There's like 3 things. You stick it in between the strings at the bridge, and then you turn it on and you put it to the intensity you want, and you leave it alone.
And it just shakes.
You don't hear it. You know, it's like, but they work. I mean, for $100, it'll make you a vintage guitar.
And it opens up the instrument.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
Because over time, the cells break down in the wood, and that vibration is one of the things that helps that do that. So if you can, you know, speed that up.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything like that
Yeah, it's real cool.
even existed.
Yep. Geeks, that's why we geeks. I'm on top of the gear that I can't afford. So.
Oh man. I don't go too crazy on gear, but I do have nice gear, and I appreciate everything that I've bought over the years. I like a lot of different guitars and amplifiers, and like I said, I mean, people like yourself got me really, really in tune to tube amplification,
Right?
And it's hard for me to get away from that again.
I'm a 6v6 P90 guy, so that's my combo that I just love. And I take out the AX7 and put in an AU7 instead of a 12AX7
on the preamp side.
Yeah. So an AU's 100 times less than they're not as jagged. They're more rounded sounding. And I got a whole bunch of them out of a Heathkit amp, a bunch of like old Muller tubes that are like $200 a piece that I couldn't afford, but I found them. So
Lucked out on that haul. It's like a treasure chest.
yeah, it's a good one.
Good.
I still got a couple. So if you got a single input power or preamp.
I think my tube. I have a couple of them, but they no singles.
Right.
They're all like a three-way
Right.
entrance.
Yeah,
They're all AX7s.
Right.
There might be a different one in there. There might be. I'll have to look into that. I wouldn't want to take any of your treasure.
well, no, I mean, I've got a few. I've picked out the one that I plugged them all in, and
I got you.
So if I ever see tube amps at a thrift store or anything like that, or tubes. I mean, not tube amps, but I'll look for the ones that, and if I know which ones are British, what the British 12X7 E34 or 84, you know, so you can do it that way.
That's cool.
And some of those are worth more than my car, you know, if you can find it. So there's some, especially for the high end stereo equipment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Are you focusing currently on vocals, or are you also playing an instrument?
Oh, I'm playing guitar.
Two? Okay.
Yeah. Right now, I just bought a new Epiphone Excellente. Beautiful solid wood guitar. If you're not buying Epiphones and you're buying Gibsons, you're making a mistake. So, I mean, I had a buddy of mine, Mr. Bob Saul's the king of blues here in Columbus. He got two Gibsons.
I enjoy his shows.
Oh, he's great.
I don't see enough of him.
He's a force around town too. You know? So him and John Coleman and Steve Wildman Wald. If you get a chance, go out and check them out. But he had two Gibsons that he bought, the two acoustics recently, and he said every time he had to take them out of the case, they had to adjust the truss rod, which is just not. That means they didn't cure the wood the neck was built on. So
and it's trouble down the line.
And I worked at Sweetwater, and that was the worst line of guitars that we had in the whole shop.
Wow.
Dan Electras were better than Gibsons for quality.
Gotcha.
You know, for
what's going on there.
Right.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
There's a lot of great luthiers, and you can get a lot of guitar for your money, a lot of different places right now. So
private builders.
Well, not just that, but there's like a lot of mid-level guitars that Ibanez makes great guitar. Yamaha. Any Yamaha you buy will be good. You know, I mean,
I've had good luck with Yamahas. My son plays a Yamaha acoustic.
Right.
And he loves it. He's been playing it since he was like 12. I think it was a birthday present one year.
I played one of the Red Label. It's just the plainest looking guitar you could ever hear, and I took it up and they're $1,200, and it sounds like thunder, you know, and it's just mahogany, and I guess they treat the wood like it's kind of the same thing they can do with an acoustic guitar. They take the moisture out of the wood in a kiln, and then they charge you $150, $200 more.
Yeah.
You know? So there's a lot of stuff that's going on in guitars that makes them sound better. And it makes them cheaper. It's more sustainable woods too, you know, because a lot of stuff's going away. Mahogany's even going away.
Yeah, a lot is going away. It's amazing.
Yep.
Wow. But you know, you love music.
Yep.
It's in your soul. Did it come at all from different influences as the years progressed for you, or are you still fundamentally, you know?
I was just pissed off all the time when I started to use about tornadoes. When my dad turned me on to tons of good music, you know, that I listen to now. Still, John Hartford, The Seldom Scene, Electric Flag, MC5, you know, I can remember there used to be a record store in Westerville and a comic book store behind the Calico Cupboard. And we lived right across the street, and he gave me $5 once. I said, go get me that record that has the Zeppelin exploding on the front of it. And I was like, oh, what's a Zeppelin? And he's like, just ask the guy, man. He'll know what you're talking about. So,
Led Zeppelin 1?
Yeah.
And you put it on the turntable.
Oh, no, I didn't listen to it then. The first record I ever bought was The Sweet Desolation Boulevard.
Oh, sweet.
With Ballroom Blitz. And
oh, gosh.
Because it was like, my dad's like, I was like, who sings Ballroom Blitz? He's like, either Kiss or Sweet. And I was a big Kiss fan after that. But, yeah, that was my first record I ever bought with my own money.
I have Ballroom Blitz on a 45.
Yeah.
Maybe I bought it at the same store, dude.
Yeah.
It was either that store or the Buckeye Mart.
It was Buzzard's Nest on I got mine at Buzzard's Nest on 161.
Okay.
And And I used to work at the National Record Mart in Westerville when I was in high school.
At the Gold Circle Mall?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was there for quite a while. Me and Kyle both.
Man, I was in that store all the time. I mean, that store collected a lot of cash for me, but I got a lot of good stuff out of there.
Do you remember Freeman, the guy with red hair that used to run the place?
Man, I don't. I really didn't have a relationship with anybody. I mean, I probably was there.
When I was there.
I was a little older, though, than you guys.
I
mean, I know who Kyle is,
Yeah.
and I love vinyl. And
Right.
Beth and I have a nice little vinyl collection. But I don't think I've ever met Kyle.
Oh, really?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah, we've known each other since third grade.
And you're playing music now, right?
We're not playing music. We play. We're always doing something. We went down to the G.E. Smith show together, and Kyle's part of the family of Jorma Kalkinen's family. You know,
Okay.
he's been down there, and we went to the first camp together that they ever did, which was 25 years ago. And now they're kind of rolling down the camp, so it was cool that we got to do a couple shows. I went to a songwriting class with Steve Earle there.
That's sweet.
He didn't teach me anything.
Really?
He was a dick.
Oh, man. Be careful. I don't edit anything.
I don't care. Steve Earle, you're a dick.
Oh, the phones are ringing, man.
Yeah, that's cool.
The phones are ringing.
I told you, I'm opinionated, and I had to pay $1,800 to sit there and listen to him be a dick for 3 days.
Well,
You can cut that part out if you want.
no, I can't. I don't edit. I don't edit.
But I was down there with the same weekend. It was G.E. Smith was there. Just came off the Wall tour. And Jorma was there. And then there's a guy named Dick Boak who used to was the main wood buyer and everything for Martin, and was like their historian and stuff. And he came and they did a Martin presentation, and it was an amazing weekend.
That's cool.
But Steve Earle
some
didn't
good
really have
stuff.
yeah,
Good stuff came out.
He didn't really have much to do with the good stuff. So.
How'd that really go for you there with Steve? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, GE played on stage with me. You know, I think fucking who cares what Steve Earle thought? I got to play with GE Smith. You know.
Now, when was that?
10 years ago.
10. Okay.
Yep. And
So
I was on
a few years before you went west.
And here's how nice the people are for Peace Ranch. I was on unemployment, and they let me pay them $50 a week
Oh,
to
wow.
pay off my tuition.
Good for you.
And I did it. I started it a long time ahead of time. But I mean, that's how nice those. I mean,
They're working with you.
Well, they're
because of
just the nicest.
Your passion.
well, Jorma and Vanessa Kalkonen are just the nicest people you could ever think of. Man.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. Yep. It's a place where you can, when you get down to that ranch, it's just like everything else is gone. You know, you're just in a different world. It's really neat.
Yeah. So, do you have plans to do that for Peace Ranch in the future?
They're not. I don't think they're going to be doing classes there. They had 18 cabins, and you would stay there, and they would have food, and they just don't have all that facilities after COVID. And you know, and Jorma gives a class every Tuesday, I think, online. And
Where's it located?
at Pomeroy, Ohio, a little bit
In the hills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not so far since it's not so far in the hills since they put the overpass, you know, the bypass in. But it used to take like an hour and a half to get there, just because you had to go through curvy roads and stuff. At least an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And now it's only an hour and 15 minutes or something like that. So
That's cool.
yeah. But yeah, I've been very lucky in music and meeting people, and you know, I met most of my heroes, and I was going through my ticket collection just a couple days ago, and when I got to meet Dave Edmunds and Richard Thompson, those are two of my musical heroes. Dave Edmunds is my favorite guitar player ever, and probably always will be. You know.
And you're fortunate.
Yeah, Buddy Miller. I got to meet him. He's my contemporary favorite guitar player.
Oh man, you know
And I was supposed to.
he toured with Robert Plant
Right.
and the Band of Joy.
I was supposed to go with you,
You were supposed to come with me.
and I couldn't go.
I had third row seats, like third row in center, which for the Band of Joy,
Right.
right down the street here. Robert Plant, but Buddy, his rig was amazing.
Right. That
You know,
short.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget. I went down to Billy Spitfire's basement one time. He said, "Man, come over to Billy's and let's jam." So I go over, and there's one of those Sword amps.
Oh, really?
Sitting in the center of Bill's basement of, maybe 10 other vintage amplifiers.
They're all around the edges of the room. Yeah.
The basement walls, man. And there's your amp like on this pedestal. You're like, plug in. I was like, oh shit. And I picked up a Telecaster, obviously, right? And I just remember jamming on that amp. It was really fun to play that amp.
And I took it down to Swamp Dog Music, which used to be on High Street, and a guy heard it and gave me what I paid for it and a 1966 Princeton reverb for that amp.
Yeah.
So I gave it up quick. I don't think I had it in a month.
Wow. Well, you cashed in.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't a bad trade.
No. And when I had to sell the Fender, I got more than I expected out of that too. And unfortunately, I wish I didn't have to sell it. It was a nice blackface. It was beautiful.
You seem to do well with getting like really specific, mostly vintage, just engineered, at a minimum. But there's you got a great eye for that.
I'm cheap, and that's
Cheap doesn't mean
But if you're
quality.
cheap, you can find stuff that other people miss because I'm a thrift store, music store, junkie. Pawn shops used to be.
So let's talk about the Campbell American connection.
Oh yeah, Swamp Dogs was a dealer, and I was looking for this Bill Nelson Nelsonic, and he had just started the shop, and he was looking for guitars to bring in there that weren't Fenders and Gibsons and stuff like that, because it costs a lot of money to have a license for this guy, So he was a small shop, and I was like, well, I want one of these, man. It's like, it was $2,500, which is a ton of money. So he ordered it, and it came in, and it was a masterpiece, and all his guitars were masterpieces, actually. And so he started a dealership, and I had a whole bunch of them, and after I bought like 4 or 5 of them, Dean's like, man, why don't I just endorse you and put you on the website, man, because, and so I was on there with Bill Nelson and Reeves Gabrell and all these guys that way out of my league, and
The Reverend.
it was
C. Barton Love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was cool with Dean. He was the guy I talked to on the phone. He would call me up and he's like, man, I got this piece of limba. He'd tell me about the fucking wood that he had, then you got to have this, man. I went with Paul Reed Smith and Gibson and all these dudes, and I picked out this, and but his guitars were like, he would build the neck first and build the body around it. And you could take the screws out of the neck of that guitar, any of his guitars, and swing them around in a circle, and that neck would not come out of that joint. And that's the reason they are what they are, and they were just too expensive to build. He wasn't making any money anymore, so.
There's a few of those guitars, though,
Yeah.
being played still.
Oh, yeah.
That are out there.
Yeah.
They're well made.
Oh yeah, they're beautiful guitars. That I got that like the custom Paisley one that we both had.
Yeah. Yeah, and that custom Paisley that you're talking about, the pink custom Paisley you had acquired, it was made, I think, for one of the guitar shows.
Yeah.
The Montreal Guitar Show.
Yeah, Montreal Guitar Show.
And you ended up getting that guitar, right?
When I was on the road buying antiques and collectibles for a company, didn't have any, very many bills, and I was just like, fuck, I want another guitar,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I waited for I think I had to wait for a little while because of something that was going on with the guitar for the guitar show that he had to take pictures or something, and then yeah, I picked it up at Swamp Dogs, and I think it took me 6 months to pay it off. But I remember when
Russ was a great guy.
Yeah.
He still is a great guy.
Yeah.
But as a business owner, he was very very workable.
Oh yeah,
guy.
and he's still in town. He works at Buckeye Pawn down on High Street. South High.
I got to stop in and see him then. Yeah, say hi.
Yeah.
But that particular guitar, I remember walking into the Guitar Center on Morse Road, and I stopped in my tracks because that guitar was just hanging in the used guitars. Nobody knew what that thing was.
Yep.
And I said, I need to see that guitar. And so the guy got on a ladder, pulled it down, and I looked at the price tag, and it was like $600.
Oh, jeez.
And I was like, let me plug it in. And I played it, and the neck was straight. It was great shape. And I said, I'm going to give you $500 for it, and I'll walk out. And they said, okay. So we made a deal.
Right.
With every intention to get this guitar back into your hands, Chris.
And you did, too. Yeah.
That made me feel good to do that.
Yeah, it made me... Well, you saw me, and
But Guitar Center didn't know how to price it. They didn't know what they had.
They should have known because I worked there.
And I said, dude, this was made for the Montreal, I think the 2011 Montreal Guitar Show.
Yep.
This guitar.
Yeah,
and I just paid it. I just paid $500 for it. Thank you very much. There wasn't a case for it.
And that's what I'm talking about. There's so many people out there building great stuff, but you can't resell it. If you're going to buy something like that, you got to either do a little bit of research.
Yeah. Because
Dean's guitars now, $1,500.
Right.
And when they were new, they were $4,000.
Right.
Some of them, So it's like
quality's there.
Right.
And I'll say this as we wrap up episode 25. The quality's in you, Chris.
Thank you very much. You too.
The quality is in you, man. I'm looking forward to the music. It's coming over the next couple of years.
Me too. This is going to be different. This is the next thing before the Devil's Payroll is going to be a totally different thing for me. So I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, man. Well, I think that's a wrap for episode 25 on Columbus Local Podcast. The Reverend C. Barton Love. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great night.
Peace.
Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.